All right, Pot of Gold, welcome back. I'm Brett. As always, my esteemed colleague, Mike, at Gold Mike in the building. Mike, just tell the people hello.
Good morning, good afternoon, good night.
Good morning. And then the best intern in the building, as always, when he's not on vacation, the number one guy on the boards, Grant the intern. Grant, welcome into the pod.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, guys, look, hit us up on Twitter at potofgold@gmail.com, at Gold Mike. Mike's been getting on them fire takes. I saw you showing some love to Jimmy Details, moving on in the world.
Yeah, multiple breaking news for this segment, and I think no better to start off with paying adieu to the one and only Jimmy Details. All seriousness, Jimmy was one of the first individuals to kind of jump on the pot of gold bandwagon in the heyday. He definitely saw some market value and wanted to be a part of it, and definitely helped us out. I will say this: what we saw from Jimmy Details, and the knowledge that he has and the background, like behind the scenes, is far greater than what he puts out online. And he deserves a lot more credit for what he does for the recruiting industry and what he puts out that compared to what he puts out there. I don't understand that disconnect that some people have. But at the end of the day, Jimmy is a tremendous in what he does. Not really sure what his next venture is, but definitely pay him respect and definitely wish him all of the luck in his new endeavors. We had a great little partnership with him for a little while back in, I don't know, 18 and 19. But it was a good run, and we definitely enjoyed our time with Jimmy. Interesting time, fun times. I think we can go back and just remember a lot of the wild stories about how it even happened. I think we initiated contact at one point. I don't really remember the full story, but like Jimmy 100% ghosted us for
I was
a
gonna
long
say
time.
at some point there will be a time where we will tell that story. Maybe we'll get Jimmy on and it'll be funny. But yeah, like the Jimmy Details pot of gold relationship started off super rocky.
It was very rocky,
He
but he
still
came back around.
the DM to Jimmy is still the like picture of our group chat. That can kind of tell you like there was some animal. I was very pissed off, but Jimmy ended up being super cool. Like you said, man, Jimmy had some awesome stories that he would tell us and be like, you can't really tell anybody this stuff, but Jimmy was a cool guy to us. Good luck to
He
him.
brought us to a camp, and he even let Grant come too. Like it
Yeah.
was absolutely
We were
welcoming. And
inches behind Nussmeyer before anyone knew who Nussmeyer was.
yeah, it was really great experience there. And then we went to walk-ons and hung out with Shea Dixon and
Bill
Jared
Wade.
Rozier, and
Bill Wade was in the building.
Bill Wade was recruiting at a table next to us. It was an interesting day. Fun behind the scenes capture. That was probably the highlight of our relationship with Jimmy. But he didn't need to do any of that for us. And so definitely an
Was
interesting.
always down to just come hang out in your brother's garage and tell recruiting stories. We had a good
Yeah,
good
it was
run
a
with
good
Jimmy.
time. So
4 minutes.
good luck to
Yeah.
Jimmy.
Yeah, 4 minutes is enough for the love fest of Jimmy. We'll get him on at some point. The other big news, I don't know how to put this, but we were fired.
We have officially parted ways with Blue Wire Media. And guys, honestly, I anticipate they'll be crawling back as football season approaches. But for right now, it is goodbye to our Blue Wire sponsors. So the good news is that you won't be interrupted with ad reads that you don't like and that
No,
don't
they're coming.
pertain to you. But on the flip side, we do have some sponsors lined up that will be interesting for you and will be enticing you to buy their products in a better way.
Yeah, look, Blue Wire was cool to us. They, it's pretty much we do our own thing, they do our own thing. I feel like we knew this was coming for a while. They had some like 10,000 download minimum, which during the season is, pretty easy for us to get to. And when you're doing one episode, two episodes a month in summer, numbers get a little dicey and, it happens. We'll see. Like I said, they mostly let us do our own thing, gave us some nice little ad money in our pockets here and there. And yeah, looking forward to the unedited. We don't have to be good for anybody, Mike. We're on our own now.
Long story short, this is your guys' fault for not sharing the podcast and not really like pumping us up. So fuck off. To say the least. No, we're kidding. Obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, you're one of our downloads and you're part of that 10,000 number per episode that kept us on board with Blue Wire. So, with that being said, we're not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it.
I'm not worried about it at all.
No,
I'm not
I'm
worried about it at all. We all are secure in our jobs. We don't need this to facilitate any extra income.
I don't know about that, but yeah, some of us are secure in our jobs.
But we've been doing this show. What is this, season 8 now? Something like that. We've had a number of different ventures that we've jumped upon when it comes to partnerships and ads and sponsorships. So it's the ebbs and flows of the business. And at the end of the day, we've never taken any of that very seriously. So I'm actually surprised that we made it this long with Blue Wire, considering a month after we signed, I decided to break the band up and moved away. And that's on me, but at the end of the day, we kept it going and
it is on you.
I know. I understand that. I own that. But we kept it going remotely, and I think we still have a good gig going. It's a show for the boys. And for everybody that enjoys it, we appreciate you listening. But with that being said, I think we have a word from one of our new sponsors. Welcome back, folks. We have something truly revolutionary to share with you today. You won't believe your ears when you hear about the latest game changer in the great outdoors. Are you tired of trekking through the wilderness just to find a decent place to answer nature's call? Do you dream of a more civilized and comfortable way to handle your business while out hunting or bird watching? Well, we've got fantastic news for all of you nature enthusiasts out there. Introducing QuackPot, the portable duck blind toilet. You heard it right. The QuackPot is the ultimate solution for every hunter and wildlife enthusiast who craves the call of nature without compromising on comfort. Picture this, a portable, foldable, and lightweight toilet that fits right inside your duck blind. No more awkward squatting behind bushes or struggling with makeshift solutions. With QuackPot, you can enjoy your nature retreats without worry. But wait, there's more. The QuackPot is specially designed to blend in perfectly with your surroundings, ensuring you remain hidden from your quarry. It's like magic, folks. Your duck blind just got a whole lot smarter and more convenient. And we haven't even mentioned the best part yet. The QuackPot is eco-friendly. Say goodbye to leaving a trace of your presence in the wild. That's right. The QuackPot is designed to leave no trace behind, ensuring we all do our part in preserving the beauty of nature. Whether you're hunting, bird watching, or simply enjoying some quiet time in the great outdoors, the QuackPot is your trusty companion. Grab yours now and be the envy of every fellow hunter or wildlife enthusiast out there. And guess what? For our listeners, there's a special limited time offer.
What is it?
Use code SmartDuck at checkout for an exclusive 15% discount on the QuackPot. Don't miss this opportunity to elevate your outdoor adventures to a whole new level of comfort and convenience. Head over to quackpot.com and order yours today. QuackPot, nature's call, answered with class.
Just a personal testimony. They send the boys some units to test out and give our hands on. Couldn't love it more.
I don't leave home without it.
Using it in my backyard, it's so great. So
shitting everywhere.
All right, Grant. Be a producer. Let's guide us. Where do you want to start?
First off, can I stop us real quick? I know I just rambled on a QuackPot ad, but I need the floor to address something. Someone took a shot at Grant on Twitter, and I don't know if Grant saw this or not because he never mentioned it. Brett, I know you're aware because I think there was a reply to your tweet from 2 years ago or maybe last year.
I don't give those things any thought, but you took a stand, which I respected.
Grant, I don't know. You obviously didn't see it, so my bad for bringing it up. But there was a shot taken at Grant that they fast forward when Grant starts speaking and that we need to silence our producer. And let me just put this out here. Grant knows.
I've been saying that for months.
This was Brett's altar. He replied to his own tweet, and this was his way to get Grant to subdue himself a little bit. No, I did put the guy in his place a little bit. He hasn't
When was this?
I don't know. Maybe.
After we posted the last pod, and so when I saw it, I was like, thought it was a comment on it, and then I noticed it was from a long time ago. That shit happens. Like I get comments on super old tweets that are like very weird, and it's like, I don't want to like quote tweet this and like make it more seen. I still feel like I'm fucking shadow banned on Twitter. No tweets get any digits on it, but it's just like I just was like, hey, at least he likes me. That's kind of how I took that.
Yeah, no, I bet. And I wanted to tell him we've been doing this for 8 years now, and nothing is dying about the podcast because we include a third member. We've had a rotating third member now at some form or fashion for all 8 seasons. I think there may have been 2 seasons, maybe 3 at the most, where it was just me and you, Brett.
Not many.
But at the end of the day, Grant has a place on the podcast. He is the producer / intern. He doesn't take up a lot of airtime. He knows his bit. He knows his character. And at the end of the day, if you don't like listening to us talk, then you can fuck off too.
Yeah, I like
appreciate that.
I like when Grant makes his little groans and stuff. It throws me off and it makes me happy.
Well, no, I think it's, obviously there's a point in time where it's like, hey, Grant, dial it back a little bit. But I think we make that known, and that's part of the show. So if you don't like what we do, thanks for the download. Thanks for listening for all 8 years. I guess now it's time to move on, even though you listened to an episode from 2022 and had issues with it.
This is the best vibe. Like, this is the best locker room of any podcast you listen to. There's no doubt. Like,
sure.
The vibes are always good. It's a positive group.
I just felt it was necessary to let you know, Grant, we had your back.
I appreciate that.
We is a loose term.
I had your back.
All right. Now do your duties. Guide us. Are we going to start with some recruiting? I know that we, just a few hours ago, a tight end committed. I know there was the Bayou Splash. Grant has been itching for us to make some calls to get him a yellow Marucci Brian Kelly edition bat. And
that was one of the funniest things that, of course, Baseball Grant, out of everything to do with Colin Simmons, is decked out purple everything Twitter pictures. Grant was eyeing down that yellow Marucci bat. That's all that we could talk about from Grant's side of things when it came to Colin Simmons' pictures.
Talking about the locker room vibes, I immediately knew that was the only reason Grant posted that picture. Like, there was no like, our boy, this dude's going to commit. Like, look out, he loves LSU. It was, y'all see this bat? Y'all see this wood? That's a
nice
stick.
bat.
That was a nice.
I mean,
bat.
well, my thought was
carry that out every game, right?
It would be a cool bat,
100%.
like behind, like in your office somewhere. Like that's the only thing I wanted the bat for. I've never seen.
We figured you weren't going to try to get cuts with it in the backyard.
I mean,
yeah,
maybe.
Unless you're practicing against Skeens, which how many can you hit off of them? 10?
You got 10.
No,
on
I said I
Skeens,
could
right?
put it in play.
Oh, no, you said you could hit a home run, I believe. I think that was the quote. I think it was a dinger over the fence.
Which I really wish the bad
it was
commenter would have listened to that and gotten so pissed that Grant said he could hit a home run that he was like, I've had enough.
Or like after Skeens went second overall and did everything he did, then come in with that, then find an old tweet.
Yeah. So I mean, going back to the splash, I've got mixed emotions on this whole thing. God, I can't get into something that I want to get into because it'll dox me on my user handle. I am fidgety right now. It was a hard day at work. I keep slamming my desk. So if y'all see my camera shake, it's not a malfunction. It's my knee. It's my left knee.
Yeah, I do that all the time. I feel like I notice my camera's just like wobbly. I'm like, people.
Yeah, I got into it hot and heavy on the Voldemort website, and I'm not going to get into all that. But listen, man, this splash situation, it's exciting nonetheless. It is very exciting to watch our recruiting take shape, and we truly are doing a good job of locking down the state. I think the 2 guys, Wardell Mack and Dominic McKinley, are the 2 guys that are still missing from the top 10 from the in-state class that we need to get. Wardell Mack went to Florida instead of LSU on his trip, and Dominic McKinley showed up. So obviously we're in a better place with Dom. I think the other story is obviously that Bryce Underwood, the number one player in the nation for next season, is seemingly down to a battle between Ohio State, Michigan, and LSU at quarterback. So Joe Sloan going all out there, and he made a surprise visit into LSU for the splash. But it's really the Duncanville boys, right? Caden Durham and Colin Simmons, the two kids at a Duncanville High School out there near Dallas, Texas. 5-star edge rusher, number one player in Texas, Colin Simmons, and then one of the top running backs in the nation, Caden Durham. Both of the same class, both in attendance. Caden Durham looking to pop any moment within this month. I believe he was on the verge of announcing today, moved it back to the 25th. People feel really good about the running back. Now, the big boy, Colin Simmons, the one that would
Colin
make the
Baton Rouge.
Colin Baton Rouge, the new hashtag, the one that
Great
would make
hashtag.
the biggest splash. I fear this is us getting sucked in again to the whole like, oh, it's all us now because he visited and he's taking his pictures. What this means is he's down to Texas and LSU, and it's going to be an NIL race until signing day, in my opinion, right? And I don't like getting all of our hopes up for this whole Bayou splash, like we're about to have a purple shower of commitments. And listen, we did get 2 big-time, nice offensive line commitments and a tight end. Caden Durham hasn't committed yet. Colin Simmons didn't commit. Bryce Underwood had a nice visit. It's good leeway. Dominic McKinley visited for the first time in a long time, so that was good to see. We've made progress during this splash. It's not necessarily like, oh my God, look at Hugh Freeze flipping 5-star receivers from Alabama and pulling a top linebacker from Georgia's class to Auburn. Like, I feel like that's the type of hype the splash was getting and what we expected to see. Like, oh, it's August 1st. Like, we're going to get all these commitments. Didn't really happen. And so I think it leads to disappointment, and that's not fair. I think this event was very good for the brand. It was very good to see who was in attendance and that we can start making inroads in the season. If we have a season like I expect us to have, that's when you're going to see the flurry of commitments come in, because of the impression from this weekend, plus the product on the field is what we should be able to see. So I just preface this whole splash thing. Reading the board, it's like, oh my God, what happened at the splash? Like, this is incredible. Where's all of our commitments though? It's like, guys, unfortunately, that's not what we're looking at here today.
Well, yeah, look, I think
Kai
doing
Bates, great
things-
commitment, by the way. DB, sorry, I had to throw that out there. Huge commitment from Kai Bates. I know people are pissed about Ward O'Mac not visiting, but there's still time there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I really like Brian Kelly doing things like the splash. I think it shows the family atmosphere. It's really good for the parents. But at the end of the day, recruiting is going to come down to, you're going to have a handful of kids that want to come play at LSU no matter what. They want some NIL. They want some, some law firms to give them some commercial spots. But it's like they want to be at LSU. And then there's a group of people that want to be at LSU, but will gladly go somewhere else for the right amount. And it's like when you get to this point where you're trying to get the top couple players out of the state, and you're trying to get the guy who's down to Ohio State and Michigan, and when you're trying to do those things, it's like you put your best foot forward and know that that's not going to be the deciding factor. And it's like, I don't like that. I miss the days of like being really interested in what socks dudes are wearing at camps, and like, well, I heard he has a great relationship with the coach and that means everything. And it's like, not anymore. So it's like, I love this type of stuff. Once again, Brian Kelly is the dude we thought Ed Orgeron would be, to build this like beautiful culture of like, we are an insulated group. Like, you're either with us or you're against us. And I don't know, whatever, that's done with. But I like this stuff, but forgive me for not getting overly excited one way or the other.
Yeah, it's a different type of generation. I mean, you're not gonna see kids stick to commitments. You're not gonna see kids be really truthful throughout the process. And honestly, with NIL, it just totally changes the game, where at the last minute you could see some swings. So I really don't get excited until after signing day. And that's
And
when I
then
really started digging into the tape.
And even then, though, you're
Film.
looking at I don't know, I'm sure On Three or Rivals has the percentage, but you're looking at probably 40% of a recruiting class that's going to sparingly / never play and go play somewhere else.
Yeah, and hopefully not. Hopefully we can keep them on board with some longevity. But you're right. I mean, we're building good depth. We have a really good class lined up right now. And honestly, I trust the evaluations of Brian Kelly. Obviously, the guys that are committed are guys that we can see developing in this system. And maybe that's a lot of the approach too is, obviously we're going to go for that top heavy hitter crew that we're going to be, fighting to the last moment, much like Harold Perkins or Toviano, or I mean, like Shelton Sampson was a big time recruit. I mean, like there's a lot of guys that we can get top heavy wise, but you look at some of these 3 and 4-star players from the state that we lock in early, like those are guys that are going to develop, and those are guys that you think
hope.
can stick around, right, and develop in this system. So I trust the path, is the term, and I think we have a really good thing going. It would be amazing to lock in Caden Durham, Colin Simmons, and Dominic McKinley, and try to pull Wardell Mack into the fold. And then also, looking at what Joe Sloan's doing with the quarterback identification, going all in on really 2 quarterbacks for the 25 class. And that's all he's recruiting right now is McIntyre and Bryce Underwood, the 2 top quarterbacks in the nation, both 5-star players.
Which could potentially bite you in the ass.
Could. But you have Colin Hurley and you've got Ricky Collins, right? All guys that you don't know if are going to stick around either. But I think having Colin Hurley squared away in what'd you say?
Which year are you referring to?
25.
25. Okay.
It's like, I'm with you. I'm all down. Like it's a great soundbite to say like we're going after number 1 and number 2 because we're LSU, but it's like when those dudes sign with Ohio State and Bama, then you're left holding your dick.
Yeah, and I think the only reason why we can hold our dick is because of Colin Hurley. Colin Hurley is the holding of the dick. So I think as long as we can keep Colin Hurley,
how old is he?
Dick is held. Colin Hurley, I don't know. He's going into his quote unquote senior season, even though he reclassified.
Okay, well we have to watch out.
Yeah, no, he's a young kid. He's really good, but obviously we are going for the gusto in 25 because of Colin Hurley and seemingly 2 more seasons of Nussmeier at the helm.
That's kind of what I'm getting at is like, look, I think Hurley is a guy that bleeds purple and gold, but it's like I remember not that long ago, TJ Finley was the best recruiter on LSU staff, and it's like I get that times are different, there's everyone's different circumstances, but it's like you just can't be surprised when a dude wants to go play football and sees like, well, I'm 2 more years, or like I'm this away, or I didn't, it's just.
And he's an out-of-state guy, Colin Hurley. Listen, at the end of the day, Colin Hurley has been the most vocal LSU fanatic.
For sure.
I mean, he writes like book reports about how awesome Joe Sloan and Brian Kelly are. But he is also being recruited very heavily by Miami and Florida State. I mean, he's a Florida kid. So at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, if you do sign a Bryce Underwood, doesn't look good for Colin Hurley.
Exactly.
But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. It is nice to see, though, that – a lot of the message boards on Michigan sites and Ohio State sites are like, apparently Bryce Underwood has a taste for the South, and they're very worried about that. And obviously his actions speak louder than words, and he came for a surprise visit on his own dime.
I thought you were going to say accent. I was like, are we getting back into accent territory?
No more accent territory.
Running that one back.
So I think that's – yeah,
obviously if you guys have more, but the last kind of recruiting thing I felt like I wanted to mention is you mentioned the offensive line commits coming through, and it's like, how refreshing is it to be so early in the process and to be like, we have a stable of offensive line guys already locked up. It's like we're not chasing the one big name and then gonna settle for these guys. Like it just feels different than recruiting classes in the past where it's like, yeah, man, we can line up wide receivers early. We can line up corner, all this stuff. But it's like we're a little thin on the offensive line. We're going to have to try to pull some guys or find some hidden gems. feels like those days are rapidly in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, and you look at a coach like Brian Kelly, who is very O-line centric, very tight
Tight
end
end is the
centric.
same thing, yeah.
Yeah, and you look at what he walked into with a depleted roster, specifically at the O-line and tight end group. And now, as we talked about pre-recording, what do you feel like is the strongest position group? It's O-line and tight end, in my opinion. And
Yeah.
you look at the future of those positions, it just gets deeper and deeper. I mean, across the board, you've got returning starters on the O-line and at tight end. And then this last recruiting class, very deep. Obviously, Lance Hurd, 5-star offensive lineman coming in, going to push for playing time, may even start as a freshman. DJ Chester, getting him pulled from Auburn, was a huge get at offensive guard. And then you have a slew of tight ends that you signed this past class.
You have receiving tight ends, you have blocking tight ends,
you have a transfer portal tight end that's for the line. And then you go to the next class, which is this one right here, and you've already scooped up Trey'Dez Green, who's the top tight end in the state, one of the top tight ends in the country. And you're backfilling with 4 O-lineman commitments already, and they're working on number 5. So, like, the depth at the line of scrimmage, specifically on the offensive side of the football, is a major focus from the staff year in and year out. And it's very refreshing because at the end of the day, the quarterback position truly dominates football right now, and it will for the end of time. It doesn't work without an offensive line. It just doesn't. And Brian Kelly knows that. Mike Denbrock knows that. And I think we've identified Brad Davis as a very good offensive line coach of developing talent. And we are stockpiling that talent for his development. And that's a beautiful thing to see.
Well, and we're, maybe I'm crazy and it's not going to happen, but it's like I've talked about it a bunch. We're slowly creeping back towards a little bit of like power football dominating college football. And it's like I'm very, very interested to see what Alabama's going to do this year, because they could just say, hey, we're just going to run the ball all the time. We're going to put our best running back and quarterback, and we're going to just here. And it's like, try to stop it. Good luck stopping it.
Or Bama, Georgia, LSU. I mean, most of the top dogs coming back for this season are going to be very run heavy. And also, with that being said, I mean, outside of Michigan and Ohio State, you really don't have a bell cow back. That's like, you don't have a Najee Harris. You don't have Leonard Fournette. You don't have any of those type of guys outside of Ohio State's got their dude. Judkins at Ole Miss, obviously stud. But as far as like the top teams that are contending immediately right out of the gates, it's a committee approach from all of those teams, including LSU, where I think it's going to look a lot like 2011, where you're going to have different phases of the season where you have different rotations of that running back crew. You could see Diggs and Josh Williams kind of, get the immediate carries. And then at the end of the game, you start pounding them with Kane. Also, obviously, you've got, Jaden Daniels' legs. But then you look at the back end of the season, you start rotating in, guys like John Emery and guys like Goodwin. I mean, like, there's just a number of dudes, good runs that we can rotate in at running back. So I don't necessarily think you're going to have a bell cow. I think you're going to have fresh legs every single quarter.
Do you think people are going to consider LSU run heavy?
No, I think it's going to be a very balanced approach, but I think we're going to rip off some runs. Like, I think it's going to be at a point where, like, for the longest time, what has it been since?
For the longest time.
Since not Darius, guys, probably since Clyde, right? You haven't really had that one back that has been like, hey, give him the ball, he's going to squirt for 10, right?
Which felt like LSU's identity for as long as we've watched LSU football.
But I think, like, you don't have that guy on this roster, but you have enough pieces to substitute as a collective that amount of production. If you get what I'm saying, like, especially with this offensive line is so good, or should be so good, that they will create creases for those backs to hit. And if they don't hit them, if they can't read it, it's next man up. You had your chance. It's over. Right. And so there's that added pressure of productivity being an expectation. And we have the depth now to hold that accountability aspect high.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see. I feel like LSU's offense this season could look a little more different than people are imagining. I think people think, well, we're just going to run it back. And it's like, I think with obviously Mason Taylor, I think you can do a lot more of what Cincinnati kind of,
Yes.
where it was like, we're going to motion the tight end. We're maybe going to run a read, or we're just going to dump it off
Hampton.
to these guys. And it's like, also, I wonder if like if as a staff, I'll say we as a staff, if we're comfortable enough with Nussmeier that we're more willing to just like
Yep.
say, hey man, like we're gonna run a lot more zone read and like pull it and go.
Yeah. Get your yards.
I'm just interested. It's like I think everyone's just kind of like, well, we have all the same coaches. Not much has changed. We have a lot of continuity coming back. It's
you're going to
look
level up.
the same.
You're going to level up. And I have a feeling that you're going to have a lot more trust in Jaden Daniels to dictate the offense, take what the defense is giving you. If you can pass the football, obviously that's going to release the box a little bit more. And you're going to be able to pound the hell out of the rock, control the clock, dictate the pace of the game. If they want to bring that box back in, you should be able to start taking shots with Jaden. I think red zone and goal line offense is where we're going to be really good. I think Jaden Daniels, in my opinion, could be the leading touchdown rusher because of the keeps, because of the threat of always having that multi-dimensional approach that you just don't exactly know what you're going to get. Denbrock is kind of that silent leader on this staff in the background, calling the plays, and it's not set in stone what his offense is. You go back and look at Cincinnati, depending on the personnel that he has, you look at Desmond Ridder from year 1 to year 3, or, his improvement at Cincinnati, that offense evolved, that offense changed as he developed into that system. You're going to see that with Jaden Daniels with Mike Denbrock's system.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the red zone possibilities when you can put a guy like Pimpton and Brian Thomas on the outsides, Neighbors in the slot with Mason Taylor at tight end. It's like there's not a ton of ability for the defense to say like, well, let's make sure we account for Daniels.
Then they have to tackle Daniels.
It's one of those things, and it's like I hate to say this, but it just feels like LSU has nightmare matchups across the board for defenses.
And it comes down to execution. It comes
100%.
down to knowing your plays and executing your responsibilities, because the matchups favor LSU. Can we eliminate the bonehead mistakes? Can we eliminate the Texas A&M games where you've got multiple drops that were potential touchdowns by Kyron Lacey, where you had the wrong read by Jaden Daniels and he pulls it and gets tackled for a loss instead of a wide open alley for John Emery to score a touchdown? Like there was many times where it was decision making and not executing properly on those mismatches that led to losses for LSU last season, or getting in a hole offensively. If we can improve on that, the sky is the limit for this team.
The ceiling is the roof. I didn't mean for this to just like kind of turn into LSU season preview, like
we never do.
Fest. But like another thing I'm really excited about, and something that I feel like has maybe not been talked about in the last 6 months. LSU was almost every game they played, probably every game they played, the better conditioned team. And to think about a year where all these dudes are like, oh yeah, we were doing like none of the preseason like drills because we weren't ready for it. And like knowing that we're also going to go in and probably be the team that's more fresh and everything, it gets me excited. Like it gets me ready to go play.
I think the week of the Florida
Play golf.
The week of the Florida State game last year, we were still trying to learn how to snap the football, and line up properly, right?
Block
and fundamentals and organization and alignment and commitment to excellence and to the little things. And we've got that now. So now it is about executing that, keeping our guys healthy, and making sure that we have the right mindset going into every matchup. And I trust the man at the helm to make sure this team is prepared for that. So exciting year upon us. I do want to mention something. some other news. We saw the clip of the strongman of the summer, or I don't know what they call it, but it was the plate, the 45-pound plate that Makai Wingo received last year, goes to Omar Speets this season, and that's awesome. That is really good news.
The
to
Iron
see.
Tiger Award.
Thank you.
He held up that 45-pound plate so casually
It was
that
a
I thought
sandwich.
it wasn't. I was like, well, it's obviously fake and not 45 pounds, but I'm pretty sure it was a legit plate.
Yeah, it was a turkey club. He probably threw it in the back of his truck, and he's probably got it, sitting on top of his mantle or something. But Omar Speeds comes in with a lot of experience, and he's one of those guys that outside of Harold Perkins, who is the number one defensive player coming back in the country, kind of a question mark at that other linebacker position when you have that two-man role. Is it going to be Omar Speets? Is it going to be Greg Penn? Is it going to be Witt or Wes Weeks? I think it's pretty much a done deal where you're going to have Speets lined up next to Harold Perkins, and rightfully so, based off of his experience, his production at Oregon State, but also just his strength and dedication, pound for pound. Like what's our strength conditioning coach's name?
Flint.
Like Flint said, pound for pound, strongest guy on the team, strongest overall power clean of anyone on the team. And if there's any lift in football or any lift in weightlifting that equals success on the football field, it is the power clean. So having Speeds as the overall strongest guy, plus
More of a front squat guy myself, but
just a freak of nature explosion to lift that amount of weight in a clean technique. This is a guy that is, if he resembles anything like any of the productivity that we got from Wingo, who won that award after transferring in from Missouri, if we get that from Speeds coming in from Oregon State after winning that award and being a leader in the weight room, if he can translate that to the field, we've got a 1-2 punch in that backfield of that back end of that front seven that's going to be very nasty.
we kind of got into the discussion in the group chat this week about who is like the most important, or if you could pick like one and only one of the transfer guys to come in and be who we thought they were, like be a dude, be a Wingo, be able to come first or second team all SEC guy. And I think, Denver Harris is probably where that lies, but like I still want to pick this dude, because if this dude is as advertised and comes in, obviously no one's Harold Perkins, but to come in and be that Brandon Taylor to Tyrann Mathieu, the guy who allows Harold Perkins to do everything that he can do, then all of a sudden, man, it's just like, what do you do with guys like Mason Smith, Wingo, and then those two guys at linebacker? You got some potential at that jack spot, a little bit of a question mark, but guys I think that we're pretty confident will be good enough. All of a sudden, man, you've built, I'm not going to say a Georgia-like defense, but you've built a Georgia-like defense really quickly, where it's like there's just not many holes to pick. And it's like, yeah, the secondary, but like you may not have time to get the secondary, get your wide receivers the ball.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the matchups. Like,
good luck running on us.
By moving Harold Perkins inside and not lined up on the edge, it creates such a mismatch in the middle that it forces offenses to always stick to the perimeter as their go-to. Because if you have Mason Smith lined up at a shade, or even at, even if he's like at a one tech or just in the interior with Harold Perkins at the Mike linebacker, you have to double there. You have to squeeze in that offensive line to focus on the middle, because Harold Perkins has that delayed attack where he can hang back for a second and then shoot the A gap. Like, it does not have to be a premeditated read where he's lined up and he's showing you where he's going and they can shift appropriately. It's going to be last second delays up the middle. You're going to be seeing a lot of blitzing up the middle by Perkins. And that's because you have that mismatch where you're going to have to take up two to block Mason Smith. You're going to have to shift another guard in there to try to, hey, good luck blocking Perkins with one man. And then guess what? If anything gets past that, you have a durable, experienced form tackler, a strong man cleaning up the back end with Omar Speeds. So I think the middle of that defense is locked and loaded, as solid as it's going to be. And it creates opportunity for guys like Wingo at the 3 tech or the 4 technique with either Wiggins or, Savion Jones, Deshaun Womack, Okafu, whoever it might be, to come off the edge with just one man to beat. And also you have mismatches with our nickel. You have mismatches with corner blitzes. I mean, that edge rush is going to be tremendous because you have to account for Mason Smith and Harold Perkins in the middle.
You're gonna have to solo block somebody that you don't want to solo block.
And you're gonna get beat even with a double team with Mason Smith and Harold Perkins. It's gonna happen at some point. So really exciting to see that.
Giving me those vibes of when we were going into that Oregon game in Dallas a decade ago now. And we were like, man, I don't know. I really like our guys. Like, we're ranked, 11, 12. Like, no one really thinks we're going to be that good. But, like, we just have some dudes that no one else in the country does. And, yeah, sure, Alabama and Georgia, like, they have some dudes. I'll throw them out of the picture. But it's just and, you already proclaimed they're your national champion. But it's one of those things that's, like, I can be cautiously, like, optimistic that people don't really know what they're getting into.
Right. No, I mean, obviously it's purple and gold goggles. And I do believe LSU, I think Georgia goes undefeated and is not the exact same Georgia team that we have seen. And they're ranked number 1, and LSU gets in there at number 4 or whatever the case may be and beats them in the SEC championship. I really feel like this is a team that could win a national championship. We have the guys to do it. Do we have the depth? Do we have the health? That remains to be seen. But going into this opening game against Florida State, it's going to tell us everything we need to know about who we are and who we're going to be this year. So with that said, I know that's a lot of content that's probably more focused on the preseason preview.
We haven't even started fall camp yet. When are we going to get pictures? I'm ready.
Yeah, I think Friday, maybe at the end of this week, we get our first set of pictures. We can drool over Wiggins.
It is one of my favorite days of the year, where you just have a bunch of random, like, white dudes taking pictures of dudes walking into a building. Nothing makes me happier.
Yeah, who is that?
Is anyone gonna have an Air Canada shirt? Like, what's gonna take over the Tiger Droppings boards for an hour? Oh, dude, R.I.P. Joe Burrow's calf. Hate to see it. Absolutely hate to see it.
No, his shades.
Yeah, I know, but
strolled up wearing the shades.
You reminded me of his calf.
Yeah, we're not talking about his calf.
I was.
No one cares about his calf.
A lot of people do.
He's just taking a break.
Oh, I just noticed what shirt you got on, Grant. Terry Blacks. Love that. Great shirt. That's a really cool shirt.
TBBs.
Great place. They get you in, they get you out.
Yeah, move it along. You better know what you're ordering.
You better know what you want before you go in old Terry Blacks there, boy.
So what do we want to do next? Do we want to go in? Last week we did a segment on the projected win totals for the SEC West, picking the over-unders. This week we're going to talk about the SEC East, probably not in as much detail because we don't really pay attention too much to the East as much as the West, but we still have that available to talk about. And then Grant, I think there's some
interesting I think dynamics in the East this year. I'm more interested. I'm keeping my eye on those mid teams in the East, I think, more than usual.
A lot of mids, a lot of 5.5s, a lot of 6.5s. We'll talk about that. Grant, I think you had another segment that you had lined up for us.
Little fun segment about name. Is this a real player on that roster? Is the name of the segment.
Okay, let's do that little ditty after the SEC East rundown. But before we get into our SEC East over/under win totals, we have a word from an additional sponsor.
Yeah, before we jump in, have you been assaulted by a meth head, attacked at a buffet, Call the law offices of Brown, Brown, and Winston for a free consultation when using the special promo code GOLD. At Brown, Brown, and Winston, we only get paid if we put someone behind bars. With offices scattered across Slidell, you can find us practically anywhere. Don't wait to file a claim. Search Slidell BBW on Google right now to set up an appointment and make sure you tell them the Pot of Gold guys sent you.
I need that.
That
That's
BBW.
BBW. We got a plethora. I mean, who needs Blue Wire, man? We've got a plethora of ads just rolling.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
And dude,
I can't wait to get into
BBWs.
the Bogalusa Bondsman. We'll roll that one out next week.
Yeah, they heard that we were now free game, free agents here. So the sponsorships are starting to roll in because we had to now compete with them.
I used the same website, which does not really have it in correct order. I kind of figure out. No, I didn't. I didn't figure out what order they had that in. So we can go in whatever order you guys please.
Let's start with alphabetical with Florida.
You got it. So Florida's sitting at 5.5. Seems to be the
I think that's the perfect way to start this because it came across my timeline. And look, I'm sure there's people who are going to be like, how did you not know this? Did you not keep an eye on it? Blah, blah, blah. Look, guys, it's the off season. We're in golf season. Okay. But seeing Florida's defensive coordinator immediately made me pull the ejector seat on even like considering them. Like, dude looks way too much like an accountant that was pledge class president in 2003, wearing like a quarter zip, looking like he's got a lunch meeting. Like, couldn't be more out on this guy. Like, can't win with him.
Oh no, Grant just pulled up.
That's a way worse picture than I saw too.
Yeah, that's
way
bad.
worse.
Where did Billy get this guy?
He's got the perfect head for that.
He almost
hat.
looks
as
like
someone,
a chubbier Will Wade.
As
Definitely a visor guy.
Yeah, I wanted that visor to rock, like the Chip Kelly visor to work for me forever, and it doesn't fit my face. That dude's got the head for it. I'll give him that.
I feel like Florida, obviously with the Spurrier background, you can pull off a visor a little bit easier at Florida. Yeah, man, he just doesn't scream defensive coordinator to me.
No,
obviously, we're going
analyst.
straight off of looks, and I don't know anything about this guy, but
we're solely eye test guys here.
Yeah, 100% eye test. It's a no for me, dog.
Big no. But I just like couldn't believe it. It like this dude is like a Brian Polian in the making. Like you're like, this dude is an athletic director at best.
He's got a chin like Big T from Barstool.
Yeah,
yeah. He's just a GM of the program. Like he's just a behind the scenes guy.
But isn't he the DC?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying he looks like.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's like a Panamsky that all of a sudden got to DC.
Yeah, and has no idea what he's doing. He's like, I got this play sheet. We're gonna run cover 2, guys.
Austin Armstrong.
I don't know, man. It's one of those things that it's just like, if I'm wrong, so be it. But I'm going down with the ship, saying like this. There's no way. I've
got the over at 6 wins.
Can we schedule this? Can we pull up a schedule?
Let's pull up the schedule. Get that red face out of here.
We're starting at Utah, right? Like we got to at Utah.
Yeah, Utah beats them. Utah pulls off the victory there, in my opinion. I think Utah's a really good team this year.
One more side note before we get there. It did give me massive like pleasure to see Florida's Twitter account like retweeting Anthony Richardson throws from Colts camp being like, dude's the GOAT. And it's like, well, you guys sucked with him.
Yeah, we've seen his athleticism. We know he's a freak.
1, 2, 3.
So they start off with Utah. They have McNeese, Tennessee, Charlotte, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, South Carolina, Georgia, Arkansas, LSU, Mizzou, and Florida State. I've got them going 6-6. I think they do get a win at home versus Arkansas, which gives them over the hump and gets them the 6th win.
So let's go 1, 2. I'm not ready to call a Kentucky.
It's 5.5.
3.
It's 5.5.
Yeah, give me the over.
5.5. Oh, I thought it was 6.5. If it was 6.5, I'd go under.
Yeah, no, I have them winning 6 games. So
yeah, I think 6. I think 6 is
I think
your
they
number.
could win 7 like by a miracle too. Like
I just don't trust baby Billy. I'm sorry. Once again, it's like I'll go down with the ship saying that like
I don't
he's
either,
just
but
going to get.
wouldn't you, even if they went 7-5, like wouldn't you still be happy that they went 7-5? It's still a terrible season.
Yeah. I mean, that's I 6-6, 7 wins, whatever. I think that's what you're looking at for Florida. So highlighter out. We're all in agreement that we're getting the over.
Yeah,
with
5.5 seems too low. Like Kentucky is one of those 50-50. South Carolina, which like obviously we'll get to all these teams, but I think South Carolina is a team that's probably
They're gonna
fighting
be
for
at
that
least
number 2 spot. Like I think
yeah.
Tennessee is obviously, who you think it's going to be. But it's just, Arkansas is going to be a coin flip. LSU, look, this is the best time they've gotten LSU in a long time. I think if Florida's a bad Florida team's going to sneak up and beat LSU, it's going to be after the week after they play Bama.
Speaking of Baby Billy, are you caught up on Gemstones?
No, I didn't. I need to catch up. I Misbehave and came across my YouTube feed, and I've listened to it like 30 times in the past week. But I realized that I, for some reason, stopped like mid season 2. So like I have some work. I
Wow.
have some work to put in. I think it's very funny. Like I enjoyed the show. I completely thought I watched season 2. Like when season 3 came out, I was like, let's go watch. And then HBO was like, you're on episode 4. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I wrapped it up. I think that was it. I think they're done. Like there's not going to be another season. So the finale was Sunday night. Really good cap off to a great show. But
well, I'll get on that next week. This week.
All right, who we got next?
Alphabetically, it's Georgia.
Georgia's at 11.5. Listen, their schedule is a breeze.
What a beautiful time to be a fan, where the Vegas odds are like undefeated or 1 loss.
Yeah. And I have them going over. I have them undefeated this year. Now, this is not the same Georgia defensive line that we've seen, and you are replacing a quarterback with Carson Beck. But with that being said, they had Stetson Bennett for 2 years, who was an MVP of that offense in 4 different playoff games. So, it's a system, and they have ridiculous talent, and they have a fairly easy schedule. I think if they had a gauntlet, they would be due for a loss or 2. But I think based on this schedule, you're looking at an undefeated Georgia winning the East again, and then getting beat by LSU in the SEC championship.
Yeah, going to Tennessee after playing Ole Miss would be the one to circle. Like because I just don't want us highlighted across the board, and it's like undefeated being the number. I'll take the under. Like I don't feel confident with it. Speaking of, I've decided, maybe not the best time for this, but I've decided to turn over a new leaf where I only like underdogs. I'm only touching plus signs. I'm never looking at a negative again in my life. Like mark my words, never again. LSU taken out. Maybe Bama, Georgia. We haven't fleshed it completely out yet, because I love me some favorites, but I'm turning over a new leaf. Like we're a dogs only.
I like that. I like that. But for this segment, I would like your real judgment here.
No, I think. Do I think they're going to lose to South Carolina? No. Is that a game I'm actually like pretty interested to watch?
Yeah.
Yes.
South Carolina is going to be a decent squad this year. I think Rattler's a good quarterback for South Carolina, and I like Beamer. Let's roll through the schedule real quick. I'll just run through the names, and then we can kind of go off on where's the potential hiccup.
What a clown show start.
UT Martin, Ball State, South Carolina, UAB, Auburn, Kentucky, Vanderbilt. I mean, just all of that it's Florida, Missouri.
That's your buy also. That's where you get your buy.
Yeah. Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Georgia Tech. That's Georgia's schedule, folks.
Yeah, I think just weighting the probabilities of South Carolina, Ole Miss, or Tennessee beating them weighs it just barely over for me to take the under. Would I bet my hard-earned money on it? No, I'll stay away.
I'll take the over.
Nice. Okay.
It's
Betting a
interesting.
team to go undefeated sucks.
They
Yeah.
wait. It's interesting. They've already picked. Do they always play Florida no matter what at the 2:30 CBS slot? Like I'm
I
looking at
mean,
this.
CBS has
TV.
had that game penciled in as long as I can
I
remember.
know, but I thought it was always like, oh, we don't know.
It's I don't remember it being a night game for a while.
I know, but
also-
the fact that CBS is like, doesn't matter what other games are this weekend, like
Yeah,
they're already
yeah, yeah.
declaring it.
Yeah.
Like we don't care if it's undefeated teams that week, it's this one.
Yeah, especially when that's their time slot and they have. I mean, what other Georgia game out of this list would you put at the 2:30 slot?
Well,
Tennessee.
they have
than
another one. The
Tennessee.
South Carolina one's already on there.
Yeah, that's probably a weak SEC week. Like it's like between LSU.
Actually, I can
Mississippi
tell you.
State.
Let me pull up my calendar real
get
quick.
your
What is
calendar up.
November 18th? Let me look at.
No. Look up the
September
October
16th.
the October 28th weekend.
October 28th. We have
Well-
Georgia,
well-
Florida, Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Oregon, Utah.
But SEC wise, there's
That was the only games that Mike gave a shit to put on his calendar. So I
Yeah,
think
no,
that should show
that's
you.
what I'm watching that weekend.
Maybe, and obviously I'm sure this is like as stale a take as possible, but it disgusts me that Florida and Georgia play in Jacksonville every year. Like, give me Georgia at the Swamp and like give me Florida tween the hedges. And I'm just so much more interested in that game. Like, I can't stand A&M Arkansas, another one. Like, I cannot fucking stand all these neutral site games that for no reason.
Ditto.
Yeah, I agree.
Who's
Next alphabetical team.
Also, I will say we said not a word about Auburn, Georgia. Not saying Auburn.
That's always a fun matchup.
It's
always a nice traditional, like Southeastern Conference, like
great
that's
colors.
the heart of just South, down South. Like that's
You're getting-
SEC.
and you're getting a night game. It feels like a lot of the times. It's just a game that feels like we'll probably look back on and be like, yeah, remember when we didn't even mention this game? Like, Auburn's not as bad as we thought.
That's isn't that
heart of the
social
Dixie
event?
Belt, man.
The Deep South's oldest rivalry,
All right, what we got next?
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Okay, so Kentucky, and we can decide however we want to do this. All of the books had them at 7 on the dot.
I just put the number in my head as 7.
Yeah, so
They have a great coach. We almost got him.
I'm going to go with the under at 6 wins.
Yeah, I'll take the under with you. It feels like you have to be to get to 8 to
Yeah.
win the bet is difficult. I think to push the bet is probably where you're looking, but
Yeah.
I would side on the under rather than the over in the push scenario.
Yeah, so you got Ball State, Eastern Kentucky, Akron, Vanderbilt, all of which could be wins, right? Should be wins for Kentucky.
Top 15 Kentucky going into Florida, and we have no idea who they are.
Right. Then they go through a gauntlet. Florida, Georgia,
They should beat Florida.
Missouri, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Alabama, South Carolina, and Louisville.
It feels like as hard of an East schedule as you could get.
Find me 8 wins.
No, it's impossible.
It's
Because you have to count.
Well, you said it is 7.
It's at 7.
Yeah. So we have to go either 6 or 8 is what you're telling us?
That's
Is that what
correct.
you're demanding us to do, sir?
That's correct.
Okay. I mean, 1,
You
2,
have to
3,
have
4,
them-
5,
You have to have them beating Florida,
6.
and then they
seven,
have to beat
8.
Louisville and South
We have
Carolina
to
to
beat
get to
South
8.
Carolina. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see them beating both Florida and South Carolina.
I agree. No, I completely agree. Look, man, congrats, kudos to what Kentucky's done is to put themselves in that mix of like, hey, we're around. Like, we're going to have a number next to our name. It's not going to be single digits, but we're cool. I respect that. But I also have like zero faith. Like, any game Kentucky walks into, I'm not like, man, I really like Kentucky here.
Where did
Grant,
they go last year?
I got the highlighter out, just making sure.
7-5. Damn it.
He's
Hurry
going
up.
under.
What did y'all
Just
each pick? What did y'all pick?
under.
Under.
6
Y'all
wins.
both picked under. I'll take the over.
Good for you. Let's
The
see.
next team
Kentucky. What are we in?
alphabetically is
Missouri?
Missouri.
I mean, what are they? 5.5?
6.5.
Oh, that's a lot.
Very high in my opinion. I've got them under. I can only see 4 wins. in
I'm
my
very
book.
high. What?
Yeah, I mean, they have to beat, obviously. Look, South Dakota, Middle Tennessee State, K-State, and Memphis, Vanderbilt. You could be feeling pretty decent about your over bet, and going
Maybe
into
K-State's
October.
kind of sneaky this year.
I agree. You definitely
Yeah.
have to like clean both of those games. But I'm saying, it's like, we
you say
lost one,
6.5?
Right.
but
It's
like we can
6.5?
get there.
Mhm.
And then it's just going to be loss. Hopefully we can beat Arkansas.
Right. You're not going to get 7 wins out of this schedule.
No, I'm taking well, y'all go ahead.
Will Eli Drinkowitz be the head coach at Missouri this time next year?
Why not? What do you want? You're not going
I-
to get 7 wins.
Remember that like quick hot minute where Missouri had like Brad Smith and Chase Daniels, and like Missouri was
Drew Lock.
actually legit at football, and then when they got to the SEC and it was like, nah.
Yeah, they should have been in the national championship game instead of us in 07.
Weird
Easy,
times.
Weren't they?
fella.
Weird times. But yeah, I mean, do I know much about what Missouri's bringing to the table? I don't, but I don't see a lot of wins on there.
All right, next up.
Well,
South
the-
Carolina,
wait, I didn't
Tennessee.
pick yet. I took.
I put a highlight on there, dude. There's no way you're picking
You're not taking the
Missouri to
over.
win 7 games.
Oh yeah,
No.
yeah, okay. I see. What you're
Can't do that.
saying.
Wouldn't
South
allow it.
Carolina's up next.
South Carolina's right at 6. And this is a difficult one for me because I have them at 6 wins. I have it as a push, so I can't decide it. So I'm going to have to talk it out with the boys.
I would trust going over. UNC I'll run through the schedule real quick. But like UNC to start the season, probably a loss. Furman, Georgia, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Florida, which you get your bye post Tennessee before Florida, which I think is a big benefit. Then you go at Missouri, at A&M, Jacksonville State, Vandy, Kentucky, Clemson. So you got Furman. I'm going to give them the Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State is a complete question mark. So you got
Furman, Mississippi State,
Florida.
I like them beating Florida. I don't think you can count that yet, but give me Missouri.
Yeah.
Give me Jacksonville State. Give me Vanderbilt and Kentucky. And I'm confident that one of the A&M Florida games they could win.
Or North Carolina.
Or
North Carolina. Sure. So out of those 3, North Carolina, Florida, and what'd you say? Kentucky?
A&M.
I just think they're going to be better than Kentucky. And it's like when you play teams like Kentucky so late in the year, it's like you never know with injuries and like who gives a shit and like what's going on. But like today, I would have South Carolina as like a 3.5 point favorite against Kentucky.
So right out of the gate, if I had to take a bet right now, I would pick North Carolina to beat them in the opener. I'm a Drake May guy, and obviously I'm from North Carolina. Furman's a win. Georgia's a loss. Mississippi State, September 23rd. Mississippi State. I got South Carolina there. At Tennessee.
The game for number 2 in the East.
Tennessee home game. Tennessee, big year, a lot of hype.
Revenge game.
I got Tennessee there.
I think you have to take Tennessee there. I just don't have faith in Florida. I really don't. I think South Carolina is definitely the 3rd best team. And I don't even like South Carolina that much. I think it's more of an indictment on the middle of the road in the East.
All right.
But
I'll go over. I'm going to go 7 wins.
With South Carolina, you just at least have a known quantity that you have one of, let's say, the top.
Why are we talking
4?
each other into agreeing with each other? Like
because I had a push.
No, Mike takes
No, because I had a push, and I need to decide whether to take 5 wins or 7 wins, and I'm leaning more on that 7. I just needed to talk it out.
Yeah, the same way with what we just said. Like I feel more comfortable holding that ticket with the over, knowing like I got 2.5 chances to steal this game I need, rather than like trusting Florida, A&M, Mississippi State, teams like that to beat South Carolina.
Makes sense. What about you, Grant?
Over.
All right.
And this is also a team
I'm
that could lose to Missouri
buying
and it
South
wouldn't
Carolina.
lose to a shitty team. And it's like, yeah, they are USC. We forgot about that. Like I feel like for some reason I'm riding for Rattler and USC when like I don't even feel that way that much.
Tennessee's up next at 9.5. This is the one that's going to create a lot of damage to pocketbooks, in my opinion. I mean, that's a high number, but they have the potential to be a good team. Is Josh Heupel for real? Was it a fluky season, or is it truly an established system where he can put up some points? Is he like, the Hugh Freeze of the East, where he's a whisperer of an offense and it doesn't matter who's playing in it, and he's got a great system. He's recruited well, and apparently Joe Milton is one of the most overhyped quarterbacks coming into the season.
That's what worries me. That's what worries me. I feel
that's a true statement, or
that he's overrated.
Oh, yeah, you're worried that he's overrated.
It's just one of those things where it's like, oh my God, he's got the best arm. Oh my God, he can throw off a knee. And it's just one of those things that's like, okay, but like, will he need to do that? I think he's going to be good. I'm not ready to wave the flag like some people out there. The thing I like about would like betting the over, holding a Tennessee over ticket, is that all these normal Virginia, Austin Peay, UTSA, UConn, they're going to fucking steamroll these dudes. Like they're going to try to score 80 points. It's not going to be this like, oh no, I don't know, we're at halftime and it's looking a little sketch. But you also have what maybe you could count as 2 losses in Georgia and Alabama right off the book. So then you have to be perfect the rest of your schedule. Yeah. That's where it gets a little scary.
It does get dicey there. So Virginia, Austin Peay, Florida, UTSA, who UTSA apparently is getting a lot of hype coming into the season. I don't really know what that's about, but
they had 11 wins last year, I think.
Yeah. South Carolina, A&M, Alabama, Kentucky, UConn, Missouri, Georgia, and Vanderbilt. I mean, it's kind of difficult to get 10 wins there, but I've got
you feel pretty good about 9. You feel really good about 9.
Yeah, I got the over for Tennessee at 10 wins.
Yeah, I think obviously what you're looking at is that South Carolina, Texas A&M, and I think it's very beneficial that that's where their bye falls, because South Carolina, A&M, Bama is a tough stretch. It's like, I don't know. I feel like Mike and I have picked the same the whole time, so I'll bet that they go 9-3. I'll take the under and despise holding that ticket.
Okay.
It's more fun. It will be more fun to be holding an over ticket for Tennessee, no doubt.
It's on my notebook. Grant?
I'm taking the under.
Ooh, little tag team action. Okay, collusion.
Got him.
So the only one that you and Grant decided to tag team on.
Well, we were in lockstep with the West. I don't know how to feel.
Well, we still have one more to go, though.
I'll take the under.
Yeah, baby Vanderbilt's at 3.5, and I have the under at 3 wins. This schedule, guys: Hawaii, Alabama A&M, Wake Forest, UNLV, Kentucky, Mizzou, Florida, Georgia, Ole Miss, Auburn, South Carolina, Tennessee. Find me 4 dubs.
No, you have to pray. I mean, what you really have to do is pray that somehow, by the grace of God, you start 4-0 and beat Hawaii, A&M, Wake, and UNLV. I know the Wake one is as sketchy as any of them on there, but it's like
at 10 a.m. What are we doing?
What are we doing? What time zone are we in?
That's the ACC, boys.
Like, I think obviously Wake Forest will be a favorite in that game, but it's like, yeah,
they're gonna get beat by UNLV.
Oh, they could start 2-2. I'm just saying, like, if you're ever gonna convince yourself, it's like you're convinced yourself that tickets cashing mid-September.
Yeah.
Which is not where you want to be.
Yeah.
So just give me the under. There's no part in me that's willing to bet
Grant?
the over.
You're going to roll the dice?
It's 3.5, right?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
There's a lot at stake here, man.
They were 5-7 last year. I didn't realize that. I'm gonna still take the. Who did they beat? I'll take.
Go
the
to
under.
their schedule. Go to their schedule. I want to see who they beat.
I'll take the under.
Nice. So we have the same picks. Vandy under, Florida.
Kentucky and Florida.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Looking
Vandy under, Florida over, South Carolina over, Mizzou under.
Boy,
that's where we are.
Florida last
in
year.
collusion. And then you and Grant have Tennessee under.
Florida made a run in the fourth to try to get back in that game. What a shit show.
So that's the East.
Now I want to take the over. Nope, not doing it.
That is the East. I've got Georgia winning the East. I've got LSU winning the West. A repeat.
In the East?
All right, let's move on to our final segment of the night.
Ooh, I didn't know we had another segment. Pew pew pew.
How long is this segment? Should we save it?
Oh yeah, I thought we already did Grant's thing. I forgot all about it.
No, we're doing.
I have no idea how long it is. It's going to be like, okay.
How many questions do you have lined up?
One for each team.
It's not questions. It's okay. Now we're on Alabama. I say 3 players' names.
Right, but are you going through the whole SEC? Like 13. You say, now we're on Alabama. Like, what is the layout?
That's what I'm saying. I would just go alphabetically through the 13.
You love alphabetical, huh?
Okay. I think
because it's just how it's set up. It's just easy.
Okay.
You love
if we can
alphabet.
rip them.
What a bitch.
I think we could rip it because I mean you're gonna guess one of the names or not, like you know.
All right, so next week
I'm still confused, but I think
so.
Anything's better than the Jersey. Never mind, we're not even going there.
The charades. What was it?
I don't. Charades isn't the right word, but yeah.
Trivia.
So okay, I'm gonna say 3 names. And I have the positions, but I'm not going to say the positions.
I'm supposed to know like these rosters of
That's the point of it.
Now everyone's going to be like, these fucking idiots, these casuals.
I don't know the rosters of anybody outside of LSU.
You might.
Okay.
All right. So Alabama. And I picked people that were players last year. Like they contributed as a starter last year. And they're going to be a projected starter for this season as well. So they're
we have to guess
likely
the name.
Juniors or seniors. No.
That's not a real player.
I'm going to say 3 names. One of the names is not on this team's roster.
Real.
And you have to be like, yeah, that guy doesn't play for them.
Okay. I can do that.
Before we start, Mike, name one person that plays on Auburn.
Auburn's football team has a player named.
All right, let's start the game.
All right. Here you go, Alabama. So we have
got nothing.
Dallas Turner. Listen, Dallas Turner, Damian Miller, and Ja'Cory Brooks. If you think it's easier,
fuck around with their names like that though, because that is all legit names. You just like changed one letter. That's not fair.
No, they're all real names. One of the names does not play for this team. It plays for a whole nother team.
Okay. Name them again. Name them again.
One more time.
Dallas Turner.
That's a Bama edge rusher, 100%.
Damian Miller.
I think Damian Miller's man out.
Ja'Cory Brooks.
Ja'Cory Brooks sounds like someone Nick Saban recruited.
But I feel like Miller is their running back. But Ja'Cory Brooks is definitely
I think he would sneak the first one in the middle, like he would bookend us.
I think Miller is the fake.
All right. So Mike says Miller's the fake. What do you think?
Both. We're in agreements. We're a team.
Miller in agreements. Okay. That is correct. Damian
You
Miller
had to look that up? You have like a
No, I'm keeping track. I'm keeping track right there.
He's doing his best Jeff D. Lowe of being like, oh,
where's the buzzer?
No, so Damian Miller is a safety for UAB.
Okay.
So what I did was I primarily chose a player from another in-state school.
Nice. I like this.
You got that one right. So Ja'Cory Brooks had 39 catches, almost 700 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Dallas Turner had 4 sacks in the season because they contributed.
Okay.
Dallas Turner sounds like a baseball player.
Here's the next one. All right. Zion Puckett. This is Auburn. Zion Puckett, Javarius Johnson, and Carter Bradley.
The middle is good.
So the two people that are real on Auburn's team, are they at least returning starters? That's what you're saying? They were good.
Like they like contributed in some they were a pretty big part of last year's team, as well as they're going to start this year.
All right, do it one more time.
Zion Puckett, Javarius Johnson, and Carter Bradley.
I think Carter Bradley's not real.
I think Johnson's not real.
All right. I'll finally answer that.
So Mike said, you said Johnson, and Brett, you said Bradley.
Yes.
So Carter Bradley is a quarterback for the University of South Alabama.
Yeah. Yes.
Zion Puckett has 112 career tackles as a safety.
Puckett, I knew was an Auburn player. After you said his name.
Javarius Johnson had almost 800 yards receiving last year.
Yeah, I thought that was the receiver. I feel like maybe it's old age, but like, dude, names just don't really sit well with me anymore. Maybe it's one of those things.
It's like you can't name these names.
Johnson.
Like, I've heard of that.
All right. Well, it's also like
you have a shot at this one. You have a shot.
The amount of times we've recruited people with these names in NCAA 14 dynasties, it gets a little murk.
All right, here you go. Arkansas. You have Noah Smith, Chris Paul Jr., and Raheem Sanders.
Raheem Sanders is like their stud running back. So it's between Noah Smith and Chris Paul Jr.
I feel like I would know if CPJ was on a roster.
I'm leaning that direction too.
Like that would have tickled my fancy at some point over the last 18 months if they had Chris Paul Jr. on their roster.
I got to stop throwing out answers. I forget this is a competition. Did you know Raheem Sanders is like a top back coming back?
We're all
right
here, Mike. What are we gonna do? Make the intern make us both look like idiots? No, we're in this together.
I think this is going great. This is fun.
I don't know if Grant would throw in a Chris Paul Jr.
It seems too easy.
It's too easy.
You want to roll with the first guy?
Noah Smith. Yeah, let's go Noah Smith.
Noah Smith sounds like a linebacker. Maybe
final answers.
Noah Smith. We'll lock that in. If it's Chris Paul Jr.
So Raheem Sanders is the running back.
Yeah.
Had 1,400 yards last year.
Yeah, dude's a stud.
Chris Paul Jr. had 62 tackles for Arkansas.
Boom.
He's not the son of the basketball player, Chris Paul.
Nice.
Yeah, I just can't believe that didn't come across my radar at any point in time.
Noah Smith is an O-lineman for Arkansas State.
O-lineman, linebacker, same thing.
All right, here we go. Mississippi State. You have Nathan Pickering, Cole Smith, and Alan Walker.
Is Cole Smith?
Yeah.
Is that Cole Smith?
The one that transferred to Mississippi State.
God, it feels like a decade ago.
Could
this be him fucking us? Like this dude transferred somewhere else, like Mississippi College?
Yes.
I'm willing to ride.
I know. I'll throw this out there. I did not use incoming transfers on this list at all.
Yeah, but
like did you do outgoing transfers?
No. Yeah. What I'm saying is like
I know what you're saying.
No. I didn't use outgoing because I didn't use like the name that's not real is not on an SEC roster.
Okay, so it's all right. Know. So I know if Cole Smith is who we think it is, he's definitely on Mississippi State's team. Nathan Pickering is definitely on Mississippi State's team.
Yes.
Because that was a D lineman that we were trying to recruit that chose Mississippi State. So it's the other guy.
I really feel
it was either Cole Smith, Nathan Pickering, or Alan Walker.
Alan Walker.
Alan Walker's correct. He's a linebacker for Jackson State.
I 1,000% thought Cole Smith would have transferred out like 2 years ago, and
I thought Pickering had been gone.
So they're both seniors. Cole Smith has 28 starts at Mississippi State. Nathan Pickering has 80 career tackles as a defensive tackle. And
his high school tape is him just like kicking dudes in the nuts.
Yes. I think he kicked us in the nuts a few times too.
Okay. Yeah. Ole Miss. We have Jalen Williams,
still there.
Jordan Watkins, and Jared Ivey. All with a J.
Say it one more time. Go through it.
Jalen Williams, Jordan Watkins, Jared Ivey.
I think it's the first guy. I think Watkins and Ivey are on Ole Miss's team.
I agree. Lock it in.
So Jared Ivey is a senior, 37 tackles last year. Jordan Watkins, 40 catches, 500 yards last year. Jalen Williams is a defensive tackle for Southern Miss.
No one's even going to know that Grant gave us all these answers before we started.
We're just getting some wrong. For
all right, Texas A&M.
This is you, Mike.
Yep.
This is me.
Evan Stewart.
Do Michigan, too.
Evan Stewart, Jalen Ford, McKinley Jackson.
It's Ford.
Are
sure.
we teammates on this, or are we going?
You know it.
You're still individual.
So, McKinley Jackson and Evan Stewart are definitely on the team.
Yeah.
So, we can go with Ford because we lost out on McKinley Jackson. I was pissed, and then Evan Stewart has been there for a while. He's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how long he's been there, but he definitely had some sick plays against.
No, he's only a sophomore. He was a freshman last year, but he had 50 catches for 650 yards.
Yeah.
So, McKinley Jackson's a D lineman senior, been there for a little while. Jalen Ford is a starting linebacker for Texas. All right,
we know our SEC.
Mike only missed Auburn. Brett's perfect.
I got it.
You got to catch him here.
Say those again for the people that just joined.
For those two.
All right, here we go.
Dozens of them.
Who are those?
Here you go. We're going to Florida now. We have Jason Marshall Jr., Jared Verse, Ricky Pearsall.
I know what you did here. I know what you did here.
I'm taking one.
All right, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
I'm taking the first guy.
Oh, you took in one. I'm going with Jared Verse as a player for Florida State.
And who'd you say?
I don't remember the order at this point.
Jason Marshall.
Yeah.
So Brett went with Marshall. Yeah, Mike, you're correct.
I knew that name, and it must have
been
Florida State.
Ricky Pearsall, whatever. He's a senior. He had almost 700 yards receiving last year.
Yeah, he's been there. I feel
Jason Marshall Jr. is a cornerback who was very good last year.
I didn't know either of those two names. I just knew Verse plays for Florida State.
Verse is a Florida State defensive end that tore us up last year.
I just knew I knew the name. The name popped in my head. Sadly, Florida State games keep popping up on ACC Network, so I keep checking in, and so I probably subliminally caught it there. Also, it makes you so pissed that we lost that game. Watching some
unbelievable loss.
NC State, Florida State games. It's like, you gotta be fucking kidding me.
All right, so now we're tied. All right, to Georgia. Georgia was kind of difficult.
I was gonna say this one's.
All right, here we go.
At this point,
Georgia, we have LaMiles Brooks, Jamon Dumas Johnson, and Tate Ratledge.
Please repeat the second name.
Jamon Dumas Johnson. There's a hyphen in there.
I don't know. Oh, I don't like when they put hyphen people.
LaMiles Brooks, Jamon Dumas Johnson.
I'm gonna go LaMiles Brooks.
That's who I was leaning towards. Is this the last one? Or are you doing a Vanderbilt?
No, we still have 6 more.
Oh my god.
Okay, well then
I was gonna make it different so that there was a winner, but I'm gonna go with the same as Mike.
Brooks?
Yeah.
That is correct. LaMiles Brooks is a free safety for Georgia Tech. Jamon Dumas Johnson had over 50 tackles, 4 sacks last year. Tate Ratledge was the right guard for almost every game.
Just sounds like a guy Kirby got.
Exactly.
Like a walk-on.
I wanted to take him. I knew the hyphen. I knew he wasn't going to
see this year projected.
The hyphenated name is never going to be the odd. I wanted to take the last guy, and I was like, I don't know.
It's like CP Jr.
Too much of a Kirby smart type.
Here we go. This is Kentucky. We have J.J.
Will
Weaver,
Levis.
J. Weaver, Jar Jordan, and Eli Cox.
All right, this is a tough one. J.J. Weaver.
I'll take Weaver because you found Cox on their roster and was like, book that one. And then what was the middle name?
Jar Jordan.
Yeah, like he could. Yeah, I mean, maybe this dude plays at like Western Kentucky, but like
Jar Jordan, Eli.
Where
Cox.
did you come up with Jar Jordan? You found that on the roster. Give me number one.
Yeah, I gotta agree. J.J. Weaver.
That's too much of a baseball name to play it at. Yeah, okay, Kentucky.
So y'all both are going with J.J. Weaver.
Yeah.
All right. So Eli Cox has started 22 games. He's a senior at Kentucky. I think he had some preseason recognition. Jawar Jordan is a running back for Louisville who had like.
Wait, Jawar? You said Jar.
You said Jar. Yeah.
Jawar. Jawhar.
Just Game of Thrones.
That would have no.
Okay.
No, that would have totally changed.
Jor. That's how I said it. Jor.
I put Jar Jordan.
Oh well, you didn't ask the spelling.
How many do we have left?
J.J. Weaver. We're getting there.
I was gonna say J.J. Weaver's a linebacker. Some of these. I've enjoyed this more than I thought.
This is like what we clip for you too.
We'll set up Big Ten next week.
Big Ten.
J.J.
John.
Name these Minnesota players.
All right,
Christian Brown.
Here we go. All right, you're definitely. Oh, never mind. Oh yeah, you might get Missouri. You're not gonna get Missouri. All right, here we go. Missouri.
You're the second guy.
Javon Foster, Tyron Hopper, and Devin Neal.
Give me Hopper.
I think Neal sounds like a player.
Neal sounded familiar. First two, no.
First two. So we have Javon what?
Javon Foster, Tyron Hopper, and Devin Neal.
But Hopper does sound like the random school that he found, and that was the name that he picked. That's what I'm going to stick with my gut. I'll go Hopper.
You'll go Hopper? I'm going to go, just to make this interesting, I'll go with the first one.
Foster?
Yeah.
Damn it.
Both are incorrect.
Good.
Foster is O lineman, started all 13 games last year. Tyron Hopper as a linebacker, had a bunch of tackles and sacks last year. And Devin Neal is the running back.
You putting O lineman on here?
The preseason all SEC O lineman. Like
okay. All right.
Devin Neal's the running back from Kansas.
I'm just trained to like see that stupid tiger logo and just move on.
All right, here we go. This one's fun. South Carolina. We have Barrett Carter, Antwain Wells, and Tonka Hemingway.
I didn't write this down. Do it again.
Barrett Carter, Antwain Wells, and and Tonka Hemingway.
Tonka Hemingway.
That's such a good name.
And what team is this?
This is South Carolina.
Oh, God. At this point, I've heard so many names. I'm getting scrambled.
If you asked me to say one name, I would just say Antoine.
Yeah. Antwain Wells. Tonka Hemingway. God, that's a pull, huh? That's got to be on the team.
I'll go with one.
I'll go with Wells at 2.
So, Mike, you're going with Wells. Brett, you were going with the other one, Carter.
Even though he's the one person I feel like I've heard a South Carolina name, I'm just going to go with it.
Carter?
Yeah.
Barrett Carter. Barrett Carter is starting linebacker for Clemson.
So
Tonka Hemingway is a D lineman.
So smart.
He knew that shit.
Tonka Hemingway is a decorated All SEC. Well, he was second team All SEC last year for South Carolina.
Quick change up, real quick. I got a side text. We need.
Wells almost had 1,000 yards receiving.
If I can make one game at home this year, what game should I attend?
I don't think it's a question. I think the 1,000% answer is Auburn.
Auburn, October 14th. I have it slated as the one that I'm circling on my calendar as well. To drive in and attend.
normally going to be some beautiful weather.
Normally.
Most likely both of these teams are gonna have good records. I'll say that. They're probably it's a little early in the season for people to have lost a few times, so that's gonna feel like it means more than maybe looking back at the end of the year it will be. But like the atmosphere should be we're going to the national championship.
We should be humming at that point. We've figured it out. This is who LSU is at this point.
The only other option on the board is Florida, but it's just that post Bama game. It's like it's such a roll of the dice, like if it's going to be an electric crowd because we just went to Tuscaloosa and beat their ass, or if it's like, man, like we're head down. I don't know. We'll still make some gator, but season's over. We can't win the West. Like there's just too many variables at that Florida game. Like Auburn, I think is the perfect spot.
Auburn, Florida, A&M are your big boys. I think you're right. I think Florida is absolutely a game that you should attend. But if you had to pick between Auburn and Florida, and you can only pick one, I would go with Auburn.
Well,
I'm also going to try to go to A&M. It could
be like 4-4 at that point. And it's like, yeah.
Yeah, true. All right.
Matter.
Back to
the last two. Tennessee, here we go. We have Cooper Mays, Aaron Beasley, and Rock Taylor.
Who was the second name? What's his
Aaron Beasley.
Aaron Beasley.
I'll take Bees. I'll take.
I know. I've heard of all of these names: Cooper Mays, Aaron Beasley, Rock Taylor.
Cooper Mays just sounds like a person we grew up watching at Tennessee, so I'll just book that one as a volunteer.
I'm gonna go Rock Taylor as the fake.
That is correct.
Fuck.
Rock Taylor
knew that
is a wide receiver for Memphis. Aaron Beasley is a very productive linebacker for Tennessee, and Cooper Mays has been, he's a preseason All SEC, like second or third team offensive lineman.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, that one was the Mays one felt too right.
All right, last one, Vanderbilt. We all know this one,
yeah,
guys. We have Zaylen Wood, DeRicky Wright, and Will Shepherd.
Run through it one more time.
Zaylen Wood, DeRicky Wright, and Will Shepherd.
I think we all know the last one.
Will Shepherd's a wide receiver from Mandeville. Had a great season at Vanderbilt.
I've already blanked on his name, but the first guy I'm fairly sure is at Vanderbilt.
See, I'm gonna throw a curveball. I'm gonna put Zaylen Wood as our fake.
Okay, I'm going with the middle guy because I feel Wood brings me memories.
Come on, Jeff.
Is Zaylen Wood. He's a defensive end for Middle Tennessee State.
That's right.
DeRicky Wright is a senior safety who had.
But you already knew that.
So I think Mike won on the last two there.
I know.
It gets a little. Yeah, dude. That's an exhausting name scramble.
Yeah, we should have split that one up. Dude, that was enjoyable though.
It was crazy. As I was going through each each depth chart of each team, I'm like, these are all the same. Like it was like John Smith, like Torrey Johnson, like all these. Like I'm like, these are all the same people in every team.
Yeah. No, that was fun. That was a good segment. That's a producer. That's a good segment.
That's exactly what we hired you on 4 years ago to do.
That's what Blue
If we want more of that, we can do other conferences. Send in your.
I think that was maybe a tradition.
Maybe we'll do this. I left out special teamers on purpose. So I think for next week. No, here you go. Next week. Yeah, next week. There's gonna be. I'm not going to tell you what it is because now y'all are going to research it. But
sure. But think of some gravy.
It'll be
some good stuff.
Or you give a grade point average and we have to guess the punter.
Yeah, or the position. That was fun. I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, it's been fun. Thanks for everyone who downloads. Do the whole Twitter, like and subscribe, all that bullshit that we never pump and probably should do more of. So if you've gotten this far and been ride or die with us, do that shit.
Appreciate you guys. We probably should have had this segment earlier. I like this segment. Anyway, over and out.
Over and out.